Enormous crowds today at the Vimy Ridge Memorial to mark a significant anniversary for this country, the 95th anniversary, in fact, of the Battle of Vimy Ridge. On that site, a very costly and decisive battle for the Canadian forces in the First World War. And among the very distinguished guests at the commemoration today is Canada's Governor General David Johnston, who joins me by telephone from the memorial site. Your Excellency, good morning.
Good morning, Heather. Nice to be with you.
Well, nice to be speaking with you, sir. Thank you very much. You're there to lead and participate in the commemoration today, and as well to speak at the ceremony. And let's begin our conversation. Can you share some of the message you'll be giving today?
Well, first of all, we have 5,000 young people, high school students from across the country, who are here on an educational visit, culminating in the celebration of the Battle of Vimy. And it's wonderful to see that history relived through their eyes, Heather. We lost our last living survivor of World War I several years ago, so it's the responsibility of these young people to carry that story along, and they certainly are doing so.
Well, let's talk about both of those points in a little bit more detail. As you say, the first time in a major event of this kind, no surviving Canadian veterans of the Battle of the First World War. So how has that affected maybe the mood or the tone of the ceremony this time?
Well, I think we look at it very much as history, but with a great sense of ensuring that that history informs our future, and that we learn the terrible lesson of that battle and, of course, that war, which was so devastating in the loss of life, and learning the lessons of how do we conduct ourselves so that we never repeat that kind of history.
And when you mention the students who are there, the 5,000 from high schools in this country, and the lessons of history, I mean, are you having a chance to interact with them in terms of what they could be telling you about what they are learning of Vimy and how they hope to keep the battle alive for their generation?
Indeed we are, and it's wonderful to see that piece of history through their eyes. It was a very defining Canadian moment. In fact, in many ways, it was the birth of the nation, because it was the first time that Canadians fought together in one uniform as a group, the 4 Canadian divisions. Secondly, it was a battleground that was considered impregnable. It was the high ground of the German defense line that stretched from the English Channel right down to Switzerland. And for 2 years, over 100,000 British and French soldiers lost their lives trying to take this territory. And then the job was given to the Canadians, and they were victorious. And there were 3 great lessons from that. One was the use of technology in battle, combining Air Force with very carefully calibrated artillery, and the infantry moving in right behind that artillery in a creeping barrage. Secondly, it was the democratization of forces. Arthur Currie and Lord Byng, the overall commander, ensured that every private, every soldier had the battle plan and knew what the objectives were, and then drilled with the very, very precise training for several months before, so that one could face all of the exigencies of the battle. And each soldier was able to function beyond his own job description and be able to move up ranks if a senior officer were killed or wounded, as many were. And then finally, because of that battle and the consequential efforts of the Canadians in World War I, we signed the Treaty of Versailles as a full-standing nation, not as a subordinate part of the British forces.